gonna take about 10 minutes before it loads up.
Oh, really?
There's a lot of updates.
Yeah.
Is the SAD coming tonight, Mike?
He's not, no. Chuck was gonna come tonight.
Okay. So who chaired Sport, Recreation, and Culture? It was JD. Public meeting, Rob. Economic Development and Planning, Rob. And who chair, and did you chair infrastructure? Just checking.
Double whammy.
Yes.
Both went incredibly well.
Swimming.
Apparently infrastructure.
Surprisingly.
170 pages.
Yes, yes.
Wayne made most of that. Thank you. for that.
Yeah. That was good.
And then, the infrastructure was done. Hour, and then an hour of round table. And
Yeah.
I love it. Apparently that's what the money is too. You keep telling me I gotta bring my own plans there.
well, that's what Paul, exactly, that's what Paul says. We didn't spend a cent today.
Well,
Council, we gotta start bringing stuff to this committee.
Yeah, Sven's been. I think it's something.
Good evening, councillors. I'd like to bring this meeting of the Corporation of the Town of Lincoln to order. Councillor McPherson sends his regrets. And ladies and gentlemen in the gallery, and those of you who will be watching via Kojiko tomorrow. On my left, we have Councillor Diane Majima, Councillor John Pachariva, Councillor Wayne McMillan. To my far right, Councillor Tony Brunet, Councillor Lynn Timmers, Councillor Dave Thompson, and Councillor Rob Foster. On my right, William Colassa, the Clerk of the Town of Lincoln, and on my left, Mr. Michael Kirkopoulos, the CAO of the Town of Lincoln. And we have, as well, we have staff in attendance. We have Helen Booth, who's sitting in just in the front row of the gallery, museum curator. We have Dave Graham in the very back row, Director of Public Works, Chuck Judson, Facility Manager, and Craig Larmar, Senior Planner. Welcome, everyone. Are there any declarations of, I'm sorry, Councillor Thompson.
Declarations of interest.
Oh, are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Declaring an interest on bylaws C, 13C and B in regards to Redstone Winery, as they're a client of mine.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else? We will entertain the minutes of the Council's regular meeting of February 1st, 2016. I have a motion moved by Councillor McMillan and seconded by Councillor Pachariva that the minutes of the February 1st, 2016 regular meeting of Council, including the confidential addendum thereto, be adopted as circulated. Your pleasure on the motion? The motion is carried. And any business arising from the minutes of February 1st? There being none, we'll move on then to the mayor's report. I do have a report this evening, having spent part of last week attending the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Sustainability Conference. It was held in Ottawa, where it was pretty frigid. This is the second time that I've attended this conference, and I find it very worthwhile as far as value for money, and in this case, the money came through the region of Niagara. It's very focused agenda, and it's very relevant to the growth plan that we are implementing. It comes from the province, but more than ever this year, it emphasized the importance, how important it is for communities to be very proactive about how we plan our communities in response to the provincial policy. And I heard that across the board, from Halifax all the way to British Columbia. I know that those of you who live in Lincoln will agree that we've been very successful here filling spaces in our urban areas, and we have some real winners in our libraries and our other amenities, such as our Fleming Center and our arena in Jordan, our recreation programs, and all of the facilities all over town that support young people. Our small and our large parks. There's always work to do, but the town has had a commitment for a long time of putting, I think, very fine amenities in our parks. We have long-term plans for road rehabilitation. If you go on our website, you'll actually see what's been happening with roads since 2010, not only the roads that have been repaired and refurbished, but those, the amount of money that we have spent. And that investment has grown year over year, and that was very much part of the plan. Water quality is another very positive and very reliable service that is provided in our community, and also upgrades and maintenance for water and sewers. And all of these make up a sustainable community and keep the costs in check. However, our streets are becoming more congested. Speeding is a serious problem. Our retail areas in both Vineland and Beamsville are incomplete, and in many cases, they do not support urban development. Things are just too far apart. And we have cases where property owners in the retail areas are really not motivated to improve their services, to either rebuild or to restore. Cycle routes are all but invisible on our main thoroughfares, and it's not too surprising. I think it would be quite difficult. It could be actually quite unsafe to be traveling down Regional 81. And this, of course, discourages physical activity, which is a very important element of a complete community, having your community active and healthy and moving around. You'll be interested to know that we have 37 plans of subdivision on the books in Lincoln, and we need to ask ourselves if we are designing complete communities for the future that encourage the sociability of the town, or are we just building bedrooms where people drive out of the town in the morning and drive in at night? We know that development is about the capitalist nature of building and selling, and we understand that. But we also need to take into account the growing evidence that, and a changing school of thought, that we need to join together to discuss the future development of our town, and we need to make these decisions together. Lincoln is made up of the town of Beamsville, 4 hamlets, and 2 villages. And I don't think that that suits the definition, the provincial definition of a dispersed community. These villages, hamlets, and the town, the original town, have existed forever. And yes, they have grown, but they don't fit that definition of a sprawling urban center. Proaction, not reaction, to someone else's idea of Lincoln is our opportunity. We share the urban landscape, and we have the right to shape its future. With your help, and you will be asked in the future, we will make better decisions about those 37 plans, including Prudham's, particularly its relationship to the core of Vineland and the developable space we have left. It's just a bit of information that I thought you might be interested in having an update on, and to thank you for the opportunity to represent the town of Lincoln in Ottawa. Next on the agenda is the Regional Councilor's report, and Councillor Hodgson is not with us this evening. And council reports. I'll start with you, Councillor Brunet.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. I'd like to take this opportunity to report back as a member for council on the West Lincoln Memorial Advisory Board. I attended the first meeting of 2016 in early January. Unfortunately, was unable to report back as I was on vacation on February 1st. So I'd like to take the opportunity to report back, not only to council, but to those watching at home. As we're very all aware, West Lincoln Memorial Hospital continues to remain in some sort of a stagnant position in terms of a new hospital, but I can assure you through the meetings that I've attended for the last 14 or 16 months, there's much work that's happening behind the scenes. So I just would like to take this opportunity to report back on some of the things that are happening. So Hamilton Health Sciences has continued to make some significant investments in West Lincoln Memorial Hospital to enhance the standard of care. Some of those things that are taking place, $250,000 in nursing resources in the emergency department and renovations, $1 million for IT connectivity and wireless. There's a direction to move to laparoscopic surgery, and there's continuing training and education of staff and physicians in advanced patient assessment. As most people are aware, there's been a number of seminars and community sessions that took place last spring. Those are going to continue in a planning process that is under the theme, Our Healthy Future. This will result in a master plan that will go to the board of directors for the HSS, and then ultimately to the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care. Input that was gathered at the two community sessions in Grimsby and Lincoln and West Lincoln and through online information is producing support that the emerging vision for West Lincoln Memorial Hospital would include a community ambulatory surgical program to serve Hamilton and West Niagara, a maternal and newborn program, a 24-hour emergency department, and advanced diagnostics, including CT. So some information that is taking place right now is there's some continuing information sessions that are taking place. There's one taking place this week, February 18th. Additionally, February the 29th and March 29th. Space is limited. Registration is required for attendance and can be logged on at www.ourhealthyfuture.ca. So I'm sure there's many people in our community that hold West Lincoln Memorial Hospital near and dear to their heart. I would strongly recommend that if you've got some information and some thoughts about West Lincoln and how it looks in the future, that we take the time to register. And additionally, I received an email this week that I'm sure our clerk, if not already, has been informed that the CEO and President, Rob McIsaac, and the Vice President, Brenda Flaherty, I believe, are looking to come back to council, as they did last year on Monday, March the 7th, to make a presentation to update our stakeholder activity. Other than that, thank you very much.
We were very much in agreement with that, and we also encourage them to be very bold in their planning and to move forward. That time really was of the essence. Councillor Timmers? Councillor Thompson?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to mention that on the 9th of February, I attended an all-day session for NPEI for strategic planning. It was a long day filled with lots of discussion about the direction, and certainly we're going to be having some more information come back after the facilitator reorganizes the conversations of the day. So I'll bring back some information at that point.
Very good.
Thank you.
Councillor Foster?
Nothing this evening.
Nothing? Councillor McMillan?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a brief note that we had a Heritage Committee meeting last week, and Carla Mackey was re-elected as chair, and Vic Dirksen was re-elected as vice chair. So just my personal congratulations to both of them. They've done an outstanding job in the first year in their tenure, and now back for another. So best of luck and congratulations to both of them.
Very good. Thank you very much. Congratulations to you. And Councillor Pachuriva.
Yes, thanks, Your Worship. Just to update council on my continued meetings with the Niagara Investment and Culture Committee. We had a meeting on December 19th and 24th where we received the 30 projects, and we went through them and evaluated them, and then we ranked them. And then we went through as a group, discussed them, and we're given a sheet to change our rankings, and we met on February 4th to see where they fell, because there was some really good discussion around the table on, you know, why we should be funding this and how this falls here. And so it was really, really good. We met on February 4th, and we took those new rankings of the projects, and we looked at the funding level that the request was for, and to see if we could move on any of it. There's $300,000 available to fund these projects, and the ask from the 30 projects is $470,000. So our asks, or our look at funding requests was due today at 5. We're meeting on Thursday to reevaluate those and see how many that we can fulfill.
I'm glad that you've worked so hard. Sadly, we have no submissions, but next year, that'll be a different story, and you'll have to work all the harder because the choices will be greater. Councillor Regina.
No, I don't. Thank you, Mayor Easton.
Thank you. We have no delegations this evening and no correspondence. And we'll move on to the reports and Sports, Recreation and Culture Committee. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Foster, that the minutes of the Sport, Recreation and Culture Committee meeting of February the 3rd, 2016 be adopted, and the recommendations contained therein be approved and acted upon. Councillor Pachuriva, you were the chair.
I was the chair, Your Worship. Councillor Thompson was on holidays and asked me to step in, so in keeping with his dress code, I wore my blue blazer, and Councillor Brunet sat in for me that night. We had a couple delegations to start the meeting. We had one from, it was supposed to be Jeff Tallman, with respect to the Greater Metro Hockey League, the junior club, but Jeff came down with a kidney stone attack where he was taken in. So Mark Barrick, who's the coach of the proposed team, pinch hit for him, and Mark provided some insight into the team, makeup of age of the players, where they would be coming from, ask of ice and various other things which we would get to in a report later in the evening. And then we had Chris Unruh, who's the VP of Operations, Steve Arsenal, who's the president from Lincoln Minor Hockey, and they also provided a delegation with respect to the impacts that the team would have on their use of the facility. And I guess the big sticking point with them was the fact that they were involved in the planning process from the get-go of the new Fleming Center, you know, and had really strived to get 6 dressing rooms, and the junior team is going to want a dedicated dressing room. So they feel that that's a step back. And then also the lack of affiliation between the OMHA and this hockey association, this new team. We had 3 pieces of correspondence that evening. Paul and Irene Scott with the request to remove the heritage designation from 5499 Philp Road. A couple of pieces of correspondence from Community Care. First one was with respect to the Christmas in Jordan. There was a donation of 98 pounds of food, jugs of cider, and the Tonka trunk made a great gift. And then there was also another piece of correspondence from Community Care, the Team Sweden versus Team Stony Creek at the Fleming Center, the exhibition game before the World Under-18s. 353 pounds of food were donated, and that would ensure that 441 people have healthy meals to eat. We had our minutes from the Municipal Heritage Committee of October 29th, November the 12th, and December the 10th. The reason that all three of those came is because we were in budget planning. So usually those would come at our meetings, but we didn't have any. A report with respect to the designation and listing properties under the Ontario Heritage Act. We had received some information in December. Our solicitor, Mrs. Costello, had worked through it. There's both methodologies and recommendations for listing these properties. So they'll be coming through not only recreation, sport, and culture, but also council. It's a 8-step process where council, the Municipal Heritage Committee, the owner, or the third party can request the designation. And then there's a process that leads through with some investigation. We've got an ask in the budget. We had an allocation of $6,500 with respect to the development of a cultural heritage assessment. And an application has been made to the Canada Young Works program, hopefully getting us a heritage assistant to be able to do some of the heavy lifting for this process. An expression of interest was received from Mr. Tallman with respect to the sports league. There was some back and forths with questions, and staff was directed to take the report and work through Mr. Tallman and minor hockey and come up with a process or a recommendation where both sides seem to be happy. So they'll be coming back at a later date with a more concise report on costing and ramifications and implications that we'll be looking at. The Jordan Historical Museum had 6 pieces or 6 artifacts donated. I know one off the top of my head, and I'm trying to flip because the agenda was 170 pages long. Was a Newell Post, Father of the Village certificate to John Osborne, was the second piece of ruler from Juniper's Food Market uptown in Beamsville, notice from the Beamsville Growers Cooperative, and then a piano circa 1900, which was donated, which will replace the one in the schoolhouse. So these are 5 pieces that have been taken in to the collection with a value of approximately $1,400. Then there was, we received a report with respect to the Jordan Historical Museum Collections Committee report, and that's something that is going to go back for a little bit further refinement. I missed in here, which was a really exciting piece, was the Jordan Historical Museum Site Development Plan. So Councilor, the committee that night gave the go-ahead to proceed with that. Fantastic development. And we've got an upset limit to the consulting services of VG to proceed with this, and look forward to moving ahead with this project. It's really exciting. It's something that I think that not only council but the volunteers and everyone involved really came together and is happy with this. And we received one rental with respect to the Rotary Charles Daly Park, and that's from the Rotary Club for their Wings and Blues Fest in July. And then the Lincoln Public Library reports, or Lincoln Public Library Board minutes, October 22nd, November 19th, and December 15th.
Yes, just further to the acting chair's report on that committee meeting, there was a reference to a piece of correspondence from Paul and Irene Scott requesting a de-designation or removal of a designation on their property. That correspondence had been transferred over to the Heritage Committee. It was on the agenda for our meeting last week, and the chair and the vice chair are in the process now of arranging a meeting with the Scotts to find out exactly what it is that they want to do with their home, why they want the designation removed, and that conversation and that information being brought together so they can come up with a satisfactory resolution to that request. And there's other important information in the minutes of this meeting that I would just like to say that I support what the acting chair had to say concerning those bits of information, and I'm looking forward to a very positive vote on these minutes. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Foster, Councillor Thompson.
Yes, thank you. Just a quick comment on the Rotary event. This year, they're doing some changes within that. It is not going to be Wings and Blues, it's going to be Wings and Music. So it's a decision was made to go and bring a more interesting variety of music to the festival that's going on. And that's going on the weekend of July 22nd to the 24th at the band shell. Thank you.
Very good. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wanted to thank Councillor Pachariva for doing the heavy lifting on that meeting as I was away on vacation. And I'm really very pleased to see the museum site redevelopment plan moving forward. And also, I'm pleased to see that we have a new director in the position for sports, recreation, and culture, and perhaps the CAO would give a brief synopsis if I can put him on the spot to do so.
I'll actually ask him to do that under announcements.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've heard the story now. Your pleasure on the motion? The motion's carried. Councillor McMillan.
When I spoke earlier, I referenced some very significant information that came forward in the minutes of the Sport and Recreation and Culture Committee, and I waited to get the vote just to see. I didn't want to presume that we were going to have a positive vote, but I thought it would happen. But I wanted to hold back my response to some of these things until after the report was done, because there are very, very significant things happening here now that are reported in the minutes. Particularly the significant report passed by committee and now been ratified by council, which is for the designating and listing of properties under the Ontario Heritage Act. This is really, really significant because now this procedure very clearly outlines for council and the Heritage Committee and the residents of the town exactly what's going to happen when there is a thought to designate. And the structure is now in place where there was nothing formal before this time. It's there now, and it's formal. It's significant also in the fact that we, as the council, and now the Heritage Committee as well, can carry on with the very important work that they're undertaking to protect Lincoln's heritage. And one other final note, I would like to again say a personal thank you to the Heritage Committee on the work that they've done over the last year in bringing this forward and now having it ratified by council. It is really, really important, and they've done some significant work there as well. And a very special thank you to our clerk, William Colassa. He has been our guidance through this whole thing. He has steered us through the complexity of the Ontario Heritage Act and Ontario legislation. And without him, we would still be, I think, just treading water. And he's been just a tremendous support to us all. So thank you, Mr. Colassa. Oh, and one other thing, another reason why this is really significant is this is Ontario Heritage Week. Couldn't ask for a better time.
Well, thank you very much, Councillor. And I would say that this being Heritage Week, the culmination of that work, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and to the committee, because there certainly was perseverance. And I also, on behalf of council, acknowledge Mr. Colassa, because I know that there was significant drudgery work that all of these kinds of policies require in order to make them really work well. And we're on a very good grounding now, so we'll look for good things ahead. All right, now, we're moving on now to the public meeting minutes of February the 8th. Councillor Foster will report, and I have a motion moved by Councillor Foster and seconded by Councillor Thompson that the minutes of the public meeting of February the 8th, 2016 regarding Mowat Properties, Inc. zoning bylaw amendment application be received. Councillor Foster?
Yes, I don't normally speak to the public meetings, but there is a correction within this. Councillor Brunet and Councillor Pachariva were not members of the committee. They were others present. So just to clarify that.
Okay, thank you very much. And any questions, any other questions or comments? Your pleasure on the motion? Motion is carried. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Foster and seconded by Councillor Thompson that the minutes of the Economic Development and Planning Committee meeting of February the 8th, 2016 be adopted and the recommendations contained therein be approved and acted upon. Councillor Foster.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Easton. First of all, again, a correction on the minutes, similar but different. Councillor Brunet and Councillor Pachariva were present that evening, but as others within that, so that should be noted within those minutes. The meeting itself, we had one delegation. John Arians was in discussing one of the reports from the evening. The interesting part of the discussion was that they did appreciate the fact that the Planning Committee had pushed back on the applicants to talk to staff about what they were requesting and ways to go forward within some changes that they wanted to make within a zoning area. So I think all in all, I think that showed that you know, good communication is always as I'm speaking kind of foolishly, good communication is always a good thing when it comes to planning issues within our municipality. A few pieces of correspondence came through, a couple of OMB decisions, as well as a report concerning from the region concerning implementation of provincial policy growth plans. It came from a variety of people. Suffice it to say that this report is a starting point for making changes within all of our official plans in the future. Next, we had an information report on the Harbour Estates application that we had the public meeting on. Again, we received that as information. We brought forward and approved new accessible parking standards bylaw. This particular bylaw is making improvements to accessible parking based on provincial standards. This is an important piece of legislation and will be affecting planning issues in the future. There was also a zoning bylaw amendment that was approved, and it's changing from a higher density application to a retirement type of a development within the Lincoln Square area of town. Essentially, it's replacing one high density with an interesting retirement home aspect. Retirement, I guess retirement home isn't quite right, but it's retirement residence. And as the mayor says, assisted living. So I will take the cue from the mayor. The other, we did an assumption of the 20 Valley Ridge subdivision, which is a normal process that we go through. We also approved moving forward with a proposed mixed-use and intensification community improvement plan. Now, there was a lot of discussion during our meeting on this particular CIP moving forward, and it has to do with the fact that there are a number of CIP items that we have discussed as a council and also have within our strategic planning documents that we wish to move forward with this term of council. It was agreed upon at this point, though, that this was an important one at this point. It actually resolves some problems that we have, that we were dealing with, but it's going to be a good progressive step forward. At the upcoming Business Planning Committee of the Whole, we're going to be discussing CIPs in a little more detail and making sure that as a council we are moving along in the correct direction as to council's will with these. So, building activity from 2015, we had the report come forward with that. There was no major surprises on that particular report. As the mayor pointed out during the discussion, there was a decrease in overall building permit values. However, that was accounted for by 3 very significant developments that went on the previous year in 2014. So there was no real major concern within that area. Maintenance period is starting now for the Maple Crest subdivision, phases 1, 2A, and 2B. We had a report provided, which the mayor was able to allude to, concerning our subdivisions that are on the go within the municipality. There are quite a number. A lot of them, I would say, some of them have gone into hiatus, if you want to put it that way, and so there's some questions as to where they are in development cycles, et cetera. So there's going to be more discussion at the Planning Committee in the future on these. We also had our planning activity report for the committee and the 2016 work plan that our planning staff are going to be following. Now, it's not as exciting in planning as it is perhaps in Councillor Pachuriva's infrastructure committee, but we did have some new business items that came forward. And Paul McPherson brought up a discussion about parking in downtown Beamsville, which we had seen as an issue for the BIA that as they came forward earlier. Anyway, we just had a quick discussion on that. Councillor Thompson brought forward a discussion around the metrics that we're seeing on planning items. It's actually, we had a couple of reports were showing us the length of time that that the processes had gone through. That's a nice start, and we're looking to see more of that in the future, just to give us an idea, at least on council, that things are flowing through the process in the expected manner, or at least in a timely manner. And the other that we had was Councillor Ranjima, and she brought up a very good question about the minimum standards for parking that are followed, and in fact are followed within our official plan and also within the province as well. We keep finding that we have issues around parking when developers are actually meeting the requirements, yet we seem to be having problems in subdivisions because of the minimum standards that are being followed. So as a committee, we're going to be looking at this a little more closely in the future and to see whether or not it makes sense for us to have perhaps even slightly adjusted planning areas for parking within the municipality. So anyway, I thank Councillor Ranjima for bringing that one up. And that was it. Thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to thank planning staff and the CAO for going back and sitting with Mr. Arians and moving that process forward. I think it's a very important step to show that we're working with our stakeholders in the community to move the processes faster and more effectively through the gauntlet that is planning. So, and also I'm looking very much forward to, as Councillor Foster alluded to, discussions in regards to CIPs and other areas, and hopefully having some significant public engagements, especially in the ag sector, from the stakeholders, while looking at the possibility of CIP in that nature. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. There being no other comments or questions, your pleasure on the motion? The motion is carried. I have a motion moved by Councillor Pachariva and seconded by Councillor McMillan that the minutes of the Infrastructure Committee meeting of February the 10th, 2016 be adopted and the recommendations contained therein be approved and acted upon. Councillor Pachariva.
Thanks, Your Worship. Second meeting I was able to chair. This one is close to my heart because it's my committee, but that we had Councillor Brunet there as always, and Councillor Thompson sat in for Your Worship, who was away at the conference that you noted in Ottawa. Our first piece of correspondence came from the region, and it's a little bit of a change in the illegal dumping terms of reference. And what the region is doing is it's going to start working with Crime Stoppers and using their anonymous tipster reporting system to report illegal dumping. The Niagara region and each municipality will pay $200 and $50 for reports received directly from the public that lead to successful convictions. The proposed partnership between Crime Stoppers, the region, and the municipalities will cost an extra $100 if convictions are actually achieved, and additional $25 for compliance. Staff anticipate minimal increase in the payouts, and these can be managed through the waste management operating budget. This is a really good news story because the Crime Stoppers is, a great system that's already in place, and we can use that to report the illegal dumping. We were going to get the phone number to be able to flip that out, and then that'll be posted on our website as well. Second, our first report of the evening, actually, and was the results of the Town of Lincoln's water distribution system, the annual reports. As you know, or may not know, the town is divided into two systems, the Beamsville system and the Jordan Vineland system, and they're both Class 2 systems. Beamsville has approximately 65 kilometers of water main, 456 fire hydrants, 556 main valves, 14 pressure-reducing valves, and 1 booster station. The Jordan Vineland system has 42 kilometers of water main, 254 fire hydrants, 266 main valves, 2 pressure-reducing valves, and 2 booster pumping stations. Last year, we received 27 consumer complaints from the Beamsville system and 8 from Jordan Vineland. If we can remember to the weekend, that brought us back to last year. 23 of those complaints were with respect to frozen water services. Just as a point of comparison, City of Hamilton had close to 900 of those. 4 were color, odorless, or odor and taste, and they were resolved promptly. In Vineland, we had 6 frozen services and 2 color, odor, or taste issues. We had 1 adverse water quality incident in Beamsville, and that was a total coliform of 1. 0 in the Vineland system. So all of the tests have been acceptable, and the testing went beyond the regulatory requirements. So our water system is very, very good. In July and August of 2015, the Ministry of the Environment came for an unannounced annual inspection. We got a 98% risk rating for both systems. There was only 1 issue of noncompliance. That was a missed Q1 sample for trihalomethane. But going forward, part of the DWQMS is that's been put on the Waterworks Master Calendar. So that will pop up quarterly, and it shan't be missed again. So that's part of the making the system better. Regulatory updates, DWQMS draft changes. There's a new standard release for 2016s, but those will not have a significant impact on the town. Ministry of the Environment is looking at a water main disinfection procedure So working groups with the Ministry of Environment, Ontario Waterworks, to develop alternative procedures in case of emergency repairs. It just so happened, too, though, that when the ministry was here doing their snap check, we had a water main break. So they actually went out and really commended our staff on the procedures that they do and want to take some of those back as best practices going forward. So a feather in our cap for our staff. Annual flows from the region. We get our water from the region. It's treated, and then we service the customer. It's been decreasing over the past 10 years. Typically, the peaks are in July and August when it's warm, and we didn't have to use any water use restrictions this year. With respect to water loss, we've got 11% average in both of our systems. 10% is the gold standard that you want to achieve. So we're almost there. The results of the water loss can be meter errors, leaks, flushing and water main breaks, and illegal connections. So going forward, we're going to be replacing a bunch of meters, and hopefully we'll get that to that gold standard of 10%. With respect to water breaks, there was 14 in 2015, 11 in Beamsville, and 3 in the Vineland-Jordan system. In 2003, we undertook a pretty aggressive renewal of the water and wastewater system. And because of that, we've only got 9.9, so 900 meters of cast iron left in the system. There's 5.1 kilometers of ductile iron, and then there's another 9.4 kilometers of lined cast iron. So 15.7% of the remaining metallic pipe remains in the system, and this should be replaced within 10 years. And that's going to, as we move forward about the self-sustainability of the water system. The region is going to undertake a master servicing plan. The DWQMS has a working group together with the region, and they're going to come up with a new memorandum of understanding. One of the issues that we need to ratchet up a little bit is backflow prevention. Currently, we're at about 73% compliance with the bylaw. We need to be at 100%. Councillor Brunet pointed out that, in the other municipalities he works at, there's a zero tolerance for that. A backflow prevention device prevents the water or chemicals or some type of contaminant backflowing into the water system. So 73% is good, but it's not good enough. We met Adam Alcock, who is the manager of water and wastewater that night. We actually were able to put a face to the name. Councillor Brunet made motion that we hadn't seen him. We thought maybe he was an imaginary friend of Mr. Graham, but he was here. We welcomed him with open arms. I gave him my obligatory hug and kiss, and I think he's part of the team. So we're really going to do this aggressively going forward. Going to develop a protocol to be able to go out and actually say why you need to do this. And our Public Works Director, Mr. Graham, also said, some of the misnomer that's been out there is that, the 27% of people that aren't in compliance is the cost is higher for them. But the fact is the size of the pipe of the water that's coming to their establishment is much bigger. So we're going to do a cost comparison of what it costs the normal residential or some of the commercial businesses based on size of the pipe as opposed to this. So it's not, to waylay the concerns that, it's not cost prohibitive, it's something you need to do. We received a report with respect to the Vineland West private water system. We'll be coming into that a little bit tonight. Our licenses are all being renewed. If you want, the report is up on the website. It's some light reading. With respect to that report, pleased to announce, too, that we've got a couple staff members. John Rice, after 4 years of on-the-job experience and successful writing a difficult exam, John gained his Class 2 water distribution license. And then Mark Bigger received the same designation after 7 years on the job. So we have our remaining person who was at the Class 1 writing his test last week. So we'll have all of our operators at a Class 2. And that's what our water system is. It's kudos to Mr. Graham for encouraging that growth and development of his staff. The operators are the ones that make the system better through the DWQMS. Worker maker, the frontline guy making recommendations to make it better. So hats off to Dave and his team for encouraging that growth and wanting to make the system better. And a sobering thought that evening, Councillor McPherson raised that we need this to be up and running, because if not, council goes to jail. So there is no worry of that. It's running, it's humming, it's going along, and yes, Diane, yes, there's no jail for us. The next report was with respect to the Vineland West private water system. So this is a system in Vineland. The owners have signed an agreement and designated an owner designate to look over anything in that system. Final review has been done by the town solicitor, and there'll be installation of a town water sampling station on Martin Row. So the Ministry of Environment identified this private water system. What we're doing is the town's licensed operators will conduct chlorine and residual monitoring on that system. Maintenance and repair is the responsibility of the owners of the system. But if any work needs to be done, it will be conducted in the presence of our water maintenance operators. Installation of the control sample tap will go on Martin Road, and then going forward, we'll do a Class EA study in 2016 with a preferred option to upgrade and then assume that water system. Final piece of our report was with respect to the Baker Road wastewater treatment plant. It's a sewer shed area control study. In 2008, there was a joint study between West Lincoln, Grimsby, Town of Lincoln, and the region to reduce sanitary sewer overflows. And these typically happen during wet weather conditions. So the town undertook an aggressive I&I, which is extraneous inflow into the system. What happens is when there's a really wet weather situation, water comes from downspouts into the system, it comes through manholes, it comes through cracks in the system. And what this is this rainwater, and because it goes into the sewer, we're having to pay to treat that. So we want to stop this extraneous inflow into the system. We carried out a extensive capital remediation pipe repair and replacement works 2010 to the current. The system, the Barolina system went in and realigned the pipes. It was really revolutionary and quite amazing to see. And we promised to get the new councillors a video of this because it is quite cool. So what this report is it's going to be a snapshot of how did those works do and what do we need to do going forward. We looked at the older parts of Beamsville and how do we extend this forward. So our cost is going to be upside $50,000. The region is going to pick up the other 50%, and this will guide our future I&I study going forward. And then, of course, Councillor Foster made mention of it. Favorite part of the evening is new business. And we had some great discussion around committee. Councillor Brunet asked with respect to the Mountain View update going on, and Councillor Brunet lives there on Mountain View Road, so he's our eyes and ears right there at Construction Central, so brought up some concerns. Asked a question with respect to the sidewalk program. We received an update with respect to the LED light conversion. For those of you who haven't noticed, about 95% of the town is already done with the LED lights. There's about 45 lights that need replacement. These are high voltage lights right now, so we're waiting for those to come in. Councillor Thompson and Councillor McMillan raised both questions about the decorative aspect. So Councillor Thompson, your worship, myself, Mr. Kirkopoulos are going to Roma Ogra this weekend in Toronto, which is Good Roads. A lot of the infrastructure people are there. We are going to source out decorative lights and hopefully look at replacing those, because we want to get that on the table before the incentives go away. Councillor McPherson asked about the Jordan Improvement Plan, and we hope to have a PIC in late March or April with respect to that. Mr. Graham handed out a couple of really great maps. The first one was the proposed road resurfacing rehabilitation program and urban road reconstruction projects going from 2011 until 2018. So this is up on the website, all color-coded. You can have a look-see, street that you live on, go, oh, okay, I know where it is. I know when it's going to be done. But having said that, this is all fluid. So council has the ability to move these things around as they see fit. So if your road needs some work and you don't see it on there, give a little call to your councillor, and they'll be the ones to move that forward. Also, a bridge and culvert improvement replacement too is up there, showing where we are, what we've done, where we are going forward. So a couple of really great maps. Going forward, we're going to let the constituents know, what the action plan is, what the game plan is, and look forward to their participation when it comes to the budget. Oh, one more. Next Wednesday, there is, for those of you who would like to go, there's a cycling summit being held. Our worship made mention of cycling, and we've got a lot of informal routes. This is a presentation being put on at the Americana on Lundy's Lane in Niagara Falls, talking about cycling. So if you would like to attend, the works are going to be started shortly too with respect to the Durham Road, Green Lane, King Street roundabout. The first phase of that project is water main replacement. And I think that's it.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I don't want to see that film unless you're going to be doing the commentary.
I will gladly.
Now, I think Foster, Thompson, Brunei may not be correct, but it's the order I'm going in because I don't think I saw all the hands. Okay. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. I find Councillor Pachariva sometimes throws superlatives out when he's discussing things, but I'm surprised you weren't even more superlative than you were on the 11% water loss within the system. I see former Mayor Conkle here, and I know former Mayor Hodgson as well. These were important items that were being followed within the municipality. We had water losses of over 30% at one point in time within the municipality. We followed what I would consider to be a very unsexy way of doing things, and that is putting the pipes in the ground and fixing the things and moving forward. We hear every year the fact that we have just a very tiny amount of cast iron pipe left within the municipality, which is amazing within Niagara region. So anyway, hats off to staff for that. That combined with what we've done as far as the costing and the handling of monies for this, I mean, this was a good news year from a budget point of view for people for water and sewer as well. So we've really turned the corner, and this is just superb hearing that we have accomplished what it is that we have. Then I'm just going to take a quick swipe, though, too, on budget things and the decorative lights. We really have to be careful with that. We will be bringing back reports to talk about, because that's going to have to go through budget next year. The main reason that we didn't do those lights at this point in time is that the cost was prohibitive compared to the rest of what we were doing. So I look forward to hearing what it is that we're bringing back, but it's going to have to be combined with everything else we're doing from a budget point of view. So thank you.
I'm sure, Councillor Foster, that what Councillor Patrieva had in mind was proactive work for a good decision when the time comes.
You're just never sure with him, so that's it.
Councillor Thompson.
I think I'll be a little bit more nice. I was pleased to sit in for you, Madam Mayor, in this committee, and the enthusiasm that the chair has for water is second to none. I just wanted to make mention, and I know he did make mention in regards to the staff and upgrading to their level 2, and I'm really proud of them, and I'm really feeling that it's a very important thing that we encourage our staff to continue their education and get upgraded in their training. So kudos to them. It was absolutely pleasant to meet Adam Alcock, the manager of Water and Wastewater. He gave us a very, very nice presentation with PowerPoint and everything. Sort of unheard of and very much appreciated. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention what Councillor McPherson brought up in regards to the pedestrian and bicycle safety down through the hollow in Jordan, and the fact that we need to take a serious look at that and force whatever hand we can in order to make things better there. So all in all, a really great meeting, and I was just excited to be there. Thank you.
Very good. Councillor Brunet.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't want to extend this, but I put up my hand only as a member of the Infrastructure Committee. I didn't know Councillor Foster and Councillor Thompson were going to also, but partly tongue-in-cheek, but for anyone that's sitting out there at home, I'm concerned about our infrastructure and our roads. Have you ever seen a chair that talks about the minutes of the meeting 6 days after the meeting with as much passion as Councillor Patrieva? And I'm happy to be a member of the committee. He brings that passion every meeting, and we're in good hands with Mr. Graham and Councillor Patrieva as the chair. Thank you.
Very good. And I must add that when I'm at the region and we're having all these discussions about the cost of water, I have this wonderful feeling because I can sit back, I can turn my head and look at previous Mayor Hodgson, and we know that we don't have to put the guilt trip on us because of those tough decisions that were made years ago. And it pays off. And I can't imagine, when you talk about the cost of infrastructure and what the multiplier effect is on trying to find those tax dollars, it is really good to know this is one area that is just working swimmingly, and so it's good. We should be very proud of what's happening. Now, great report. Thank you very much. Councillor Patrieva, no more questions, no more comments. Your pleasure on the motion. Thank you very much. The motion is carried. We have no confirmation of compliance with Section 34 of the Planning Act. And we move on to bylaws, and we have a number. I have a motion moved by Councillor Timmers and seconded by Councillor Brunet that leave be given to introduce the following bylaws. Number 2016-08, to lay out and dedicate certain lands for public highway purposes and assume the municipal services located therein, Plan 30M-352, 20 Valley Ridge. Number 2016-09, a bylaw to adopt amend number 54 to the official plan for the Town of Lincoln Craft Development Corporation Redstone Winery. Number 2016-10-Z467 to amend zoning bylaw number 93-14-Z1 as amended of the Town of Lincoln Craft Development Corporation Redstone Winery. And number 2016-11-Z468 to amend zoning bylaw number 93-14-Z1 as amended of the Town of Lincoln 1419406 Ontario Inc., 1419405 Ontario Inc., and 2252620 Ontario Inc. Number 2016-12-Z469 to amend zoning bylaw number 93-14-Z1 as amended of the Town of Lincoln accessible parking. Ladies and gentlemen, are there any questions to any of the bylaws? Your pleasure on the motion? The motion is carried. Are there any notice of motion? And I'll ask Mr. Kirkopoulos to, he has an announcement, and there may be others, but we'll start with Mike.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I just wanted to take a moment. I did mention this at the last SRC committee, but I did introduce at that time our new Director of Sports, Recreation and Culture, Mr. Assad Hussein. Assad comes to us after spending the last 3 years with the Niagara Parks Commission, where he was the Senior Manager of Capital Projects, Engineering, Parking, and Transportation. And during his time there, Assad was involved in a number of projects that I think will be beneficial to the town. And those include things, for instance, as the Fort Erie Interpretive Center Complex, the Pan Am Plaza in Niagara Falls, as well as the Millers Creek Marina. Prior to that, Assad did work on a number of facilities projects, and I think he'll be a great complement to Chuck and the rest of the team in terms of some of the experiences that he brings, having worked across the region. I did also take an opportunity at that meeting to thank all staff, specifically Chuck. Chuck has spent the last, I want to say at least the last year or so, for the most part, if not longer, really carrying, a number of hats, a number of roles, and really doing yeoman's work moving forward. A number of the things that this department has moved forward. With him here is I know is Helen, who's our lead at the museum. But I think all the staff in sports, recreation, and culture deserve the recognition and the thanks for keeping things afloat and keeping things moving and continuing to lead us in a very progressive way in terms of sports, recreation, and culture. From my perspective, Chuck's been, that one person since I started who, if I was to have a right hand, because of all the issues that I needed to deal with when I started about a month ago, Chuck's definitely been that person. So I personally wanted to thank him. I did want the committee to thank him at that time, and I think, we're in good hands. I think Chuck and Assad and the rest of the team will move us forward on a number of initiatives.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kirkopoulos, and I certainly would echo your comments, as I'm sure the rest of council would. Certainly, Councillor McMillan's earlier comment about what was achieved by the Heritage Committee certainly is evidenced in the area of sport, recreation, and culture. And I think that we also have, we've positioned ourselves very well for the cultural plan that Helen will be working on, and I think the agenda will be packed over the next year, but it's going to be very satisfying to see a number of these things come to fruition. So thank you all very much. And we're just waiting for a moment. The clerk's preparing another motion for us, and I don't want to move any further on the agenda unless there are other announcements. Councillors? Councillor Njima?
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Today, as the representative on the Chamber of Commerce, I attended the Business After 5 at the Conversations Cafe. And there's something that they do on a regular basis, and I'm sure all of us have heard a little bit about it, but I wanted to recognize it because it's pretty incredible what they do there. They have a youth zone. In the basement, they have pool tables and I think it's called foosball and a TV and sofas and a conference table all set up down there. And it's a youth zone, and they have about 20 to 30 kids that come there on a regular basis. Some kids come at lunch and have their lunch there from the high school. A lot of kids come after school on, I think there's 2 nights a week they can go there. They pay for all this out of the proceeds from the Conversations Cafe, and they're always looking for volunteers. And another thing I wanted to announce is that it's Councillor Timmer's birthday. Happy birthday, Lynn. She's blushing.
That was pretty hard to keep a secret, wasn't it? Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
And now we're going to go back, councillors, to the bylaws again. C and D. We have an additional motion moved by Councillor Foster and seconded by Councillor Timmers, that council has considered the requirements of paragraph 17 of section 34 of the Planning Act and concludes that no further notices of public meeting is required for the following 2 bylaws, and I will read them. Number 2016-10-Z467, to amend zoning bylaw number 93-14-Z1 as amended of the Town of Lincoln Craft Development Corporation, Redstone Winery. And number 2016-11-Z468, to amend zoning bylaw number 93-14-Z1 as amended of the Town of Lincoln, 1419406 Ontario Inc., 1419405 Ontario Inc., and 2252620 Ontario Inc. Are there any questions to the motion? Your pleasure on the motion? The motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And again, I have a motion moved by Councillor Timmers and seconded by Councillor Brunet that leave be given to introduce the following bylaws. Number 2016-08, to lay out and dedicate certain lands for public highway purposes and assume the municipal services located therein. Plan 30M-352, 20 Valley Ridge. Number 2016-09, a bylaw to adopt amendment number 54 to the official plan for the Town of Lincoln Craft Development Corporation, Redstone Winery. Number 2016-10-Z467, to amend zoning bylaw number 93-14-Z1 as amended of the Town of Lincoln Craft Development Corporation, Redstone Winery. And number 2016-11-Z468, to amend zoning bylaw number 93-14-Z1 as amended of the Town of Lincoln, 1419406 Ontario Inc., 1419405 Ontario Inc., and 2252620 Ontario Inc. And number 2016-12-Z469, to amend zoning bylaw number 93-14-Z1 as amended of the Town of Lincoln accessible parking, and all of them in their complete form. Your pleasure on the motion. Thank you. The motion is carried. And finally, I have a motion moved by Councillor Brunet and seconded by Councillor Timmers. The bylaws number 2016-08, 2016-09, 2016-10-Z467, 2016-11-Z468, and 2016-12-Z469 read a first time, be now read a second and third time, and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk sign and seal the said bylaw. Your pleasure on the motion. The motion is carried. There is no closed session this evening. Just a moment. I'm just going to take this. Councillor Brunet.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I could, I just wanted to go back to the announcement section.
Yes.
I'm not sure if anyone else had it on their docket, but I just wanted to express my gratitude to Councillor Foster in the work that he does on OSUM. Recently, we had an opportunity to go to Flat Rock, And it was a great evening. I think we all agree it was a great evening of fellowship, but most important, to see how other people that live in other parts of the community or outside of the province, coming to Lincoln maybe for the first time, seeing, what Lincoln is all about was truly refreshing. And I know Councillor Foster works hard on the Association of Small Urban Municipalities, so I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank him for the work he does on behalf of Lincoln at that organization. And it was a great evening, and I was glad to attend it.
Very good. It was a great evening, and it was well planned, and Flat Rock certainly went out of their way to make everyone feel welcome. And we had a few emails, and I received a letter today from the mayor of Tecumseh, and that we'll put that on the correspondence for the next council meeting. But yeah, it was great. Do you have any comments that you wanted to make, Councillor Foster? It was a great evening. Thank you very much for all your efforts. Councillors, I have a motion moved by Councillor Njima and seconded by, oh, my apologies. Councillor
Your Worship,
Pancheriva.
yeah, quite okay. I just got a couple announcements. The first one is with respect to a PIC going to be held on Thursday, February 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Vineland Library. That's detailing the Culp Road urbanization from Victoria Avenue to 23rd Street and the 23rd Street reconstruction from Culp Road to 2nd Avenue. The public will be able to look at the preliminary designs. Councillor McMillan made a point of, at our meeting, we'd like to do it in the same style as the museum. So rather than have the storyboards up and around the room, we'll have the consulting company do a little presentation. So I would urge people, if they'd like to attend, to try to get there right at 6, and then we'll probably have a second showing at maybe 7:15. And then, if I may, Your Worship, I've got to do my little sports announcement. We've got a bunch of teams at Lincoln Minor Hockey right now that are in their OMHA playdowns and are doing quite well. We've got the novice team sponsored by Beamsville Physiotherapy. They're in the quarterfinals right now. Tied at 4 points each with Pelham, and they travel to Pelham tomorrow night, and hopefully they can finish off those Panthers. The Adam team, sponsored by Cherry Lane, also in the quarterfinals. They're tied at 4 points each. They're playing Niagara-on-the-Lake, and they play in Niagara-on-the-Lake tomorrow night. The Adam AEs are in the semifinals, sponsored by NM Bartlett. They defeated Paris on the weekend, so they will play the winner of Mount Bridges and Dorchester. The Pee-wees, sponsored by Pita Pit, are in the quarterfinals right now, up 4 points to nothing against Port Colborne. Juveniles are in the semifinals versus Moortown. In their round robin, they finished tied with South Kent. But rather than go to South Kent and play a one-game playoff, they gave them the top spot, so they'll be playing Moortown in the quarterfinals, with the winner playing South Kent, and they are sponsored by HEP Contractors. And then little public, shameless plug. My team, the Zwart Systems Minor Midgets, we defeated Port Stanley on the weekend, and we'll be hosting Wallaceburg in the semifinals starting this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Mean a lot to all the kids at all the levels. If you can come out, check out LincolnMinorHockey.com. Take a little trip over to the arena this weekend. And you know what? You're going to see some pretty good hockey and get to cheer on the local kids. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Councillor. Now, we have Councillor Njima and then Councillor Timmers.
Thank you, Mary Easton. Mine is an inquiry, which I can wait till.
All right, Councillor Timmers.
I just want to remind everyone that this Saturday in Lincoln is the coldest night of the year walk, and you can come out. If you want to participate, you can do a 2, 5, or 10-kilometer walk. You can help by volunteering. You can sponsor. You can join a team. It's not too late. It's Saturday at 5 o'clock, and you can go online and check it out. I'll be walking as part of Team Community Care of West Niagara, and it's an excellent cause, so I just want to challenge everybody out there to come on out. It's a great, fun event, and it's very worthwhile. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Timmers. I'm going to let you do your piece now, Councillor Ujima.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. My question is about the our Finance and Admin Committee meeting. Councillor Thompson reminded me that it's on this Monday, but there's a few people on that committee that are going to Roma Ogra, so I'm wondering if we're going to have quorum. We are going to have quorum? Oh, you are? Okay. All right.
Madam Mayor, yes, we will have quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. Good. Good to know. Thank you.
I haven't arranged for anyone to attend for me. Is there anyone left that doesn't have a prior commitment? Councillor, you would attend? Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Councillor Brunet.
Very good. All right. Is that it? No more announcements?
Quick one, if I may, Your Worship. Just with respect to the snow today, just a reminder to the residents, not to park on the streets during a snowstorm or 24 hours afterwards, so we can get the snow cleared.
Good point. Thank you very much. I'm not asking again. I have a motion.
My hand under the table.
I'm learning quickly. I have a motion moved by Councillor Ujima and seconded by Councillor Pachariva that leave be given to introduce the following bylaw, number 2016-13, to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by council resolution. Your pleasure on the motion. The motion is carried. And I have a motion moved by Councillor McMillan and seconded by Councillor Pachariva that bylaw number 2016-13 read a first time be now read a second and third time and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk sign and seal the said bylaw. Your pleasure on the motion. The motion is carried. And there being no further business and having dealt with all the business of the agenda, I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you.